As we're moving into the third week of NFL OTAs, it is time for us right now to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And no, I'm not talking about Andy Reid. He's the 800-pound thing of Kool-Aid just busting through your door. We're talking about Courtland Sutton and what's going to happen with Courtland Sutton and how does his tweet yesterday amidst Denver Broncos voluntary workouts. He tweeted from his home in Florida, evidently, and that's landing with different people different ways, and truly how you feel about that tweet and whether or not it was like a subtle jab at like, oh, I'm too good to be there, or if you think it was him truly showing that he loves it in Denver and wants to stay there. All depends on if you want Courtland back or not. I have a community post up right now. Would love it if you would go and vote on, do you want Courtland Sutton to stay, or do you think we should trade him and move on from him? Tomorrow is the June 1st deadline, where if a trade were to happen, that is when folks are guessing it would most likely happen with the salary cap implications there. June 1st hits tomorrow, and that's where we could see movement if it's going to happen. But myself, my leaning on this is I love Courtland Sutton. I think while he hasn't had WR1 production, he's been our wide receiver one and shown flashes, even though he's had 9 different guys throwing him the ball. How many offensive coordinators and head coaches has he played with in that time? And he has really been one of our shining stars amidst that. Last year, he had 3 or 5 of the best catches in the entire NFL last year, and really was like, I think he can be that safety valve for Bo Nix. So I would love to see him kept. He's not asking for Jamar Chase type numbers. He's not asking for Justin Jefferson type money. He's just asking for more guarantees this year and a slight bump in salary. And I think we owe him that. And I want to say that with the caveat that we owe him that if he's going to come and contribute to the youthful energy that Sean Payton has been just vibing on here. He's saying that we're feeling like a college team again, and he's saying the vibes are really good. And so if he's going to come in and knock off all the weird Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air tweets, and he's going to stop pouting about Russ, and he's going to come in and like be really like a fallback for Bo Nix, let's get him back. I think that would be a very, very good thing. So yesterday, it is mandatory for all of our players to come when it's mandatory OTAs, but these are voluntary. Yet the attendance at them is something like 98%. There are a couple guys who get excused. Our newest trade that we got out of from the Jets, he has business that he's still doing in Texas, and so he has an excused absence until next week. But Courtland Sutton does not have an excused absence. And yesterday, we inducted 2 new members to the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame, which is a gigantic honor. Steve Foley and Riley Odoms both were elected to the Hall of Fame. And while players were all out there practicing their hearts out and giving everything for this team, Courtland Sutton tweeted out the following, and I'll have it up here on the screen, and I will read it for those who are just listening. Congratulations to Riley Odoms and Steve Foley. It's always been one of the goals of mine outside of winning a Super Bowl in Denver. So to me, I read that like, let's go. He wants to be back. Let's just show him a little respect. Let's give him some of the guarantees that he wants. He says his goal is winning a Super Bowl in Denver. Full stop right there is how I read that. Yet, I listened to 104.3 The Fan yesterday. I'm going to drive home, streaming it on there, and you heard just like a level of pessimism and guys reading that like, oh, he's really just trying to endear himself and strong-arm the Broncos. And I felt like the level of pessimism they read into that was too much, that they're trying to manufacture, conjure up something that I don't think that's what Courtland Sutton was saying. I don't think this is some subtle jab at the Broncos. I think this is truly him showing all of us in Broncos country, like, hey, this is the business side of it. Don't get it reversed. Don't get it mixed up here. Courtland wants to be a Bronco, and he wants to lead this team back to the playoffs, and I hope that he does. So very, very curious, how did you all read that? And then how do you see this wide receiver room shaping up with Courtland and without Courtland, and what are the differences? So I think one of the things that I'm super excited about is just seeing what Marvin Mims is going to do. You heard yesterday that the biggest play of all of the OTAs so far was just like a 50-yard bomb from Jarrett Stidham to Marvin Mims, hit him in stride, just dropped a dime over the defenders. And you heard Marvin Mims say it's a night and day difference between year 1 and year 2. You hear tons of coaches come out and say that the biggest growth you see in a player is between years 1 and years 2, and especially if we're taking some of the kick returning duties off of his plate. And so I'm really excited about him stepping up into that role. Obviously, we have Tim Patrick coming back, and so you have two guys right there that I'm very, very, very bullish on. And or bullish is good or bearish is good? I don't know. I'm very excited about it. I think that's going to be fantastic. And then I'm also crazy excited about Josh Reynolds. The more I talk to my friends who are Lions fans, because I'm a Denver Broncos fan who moved to Michigan just during COVID, the more I hear about Josh Reynolds, they are so mad that he's gone. And even on Detroit radio, they were talking about what a giant loss that is for the Lions. And so having Reynolds, Patrick, and Mims, all of those are starting caliber receivers in my estimation. And then on top of that, we get Troy Franklin, who a lot of people were saying was going to go in the first round, and now he is on this team, and people are saying he looks fantastic. He already has that chemistry with Bo Nix, and so you were already talking about 4 quality wideouts right there. So where does Courtland fit in that mix? And then is Vele, the guy we picked up in the 7th round from Utah, who looks exactly like Tim Patrick and is wearing his old number. He's showing incredible flashes as well. We also saw little Jordan Humphreys come on last year. We know we're getting Jalen Virgil back as well. And so I think our wide receiver room is back to a room that is just full of talent. And so I could see a world where if we get something good in return for a Courtland Sutton trade, it might not be the worst thing in the world because we have youthful guys who can step up and lead this team. So that has me excited, very curious to hear how you read the Courtland Sutton tweet, what you want to see us do with him. And then I just had to show this up here. I don't want to end our week here on a downer, but I got to, because this is the frame in which I'm viewing everything. So PFF put out their season rankings for what they're predicting and strength of a team going into this offseason. And this is why my titles have been stuff like the Denver Broncos are tricking the entire NFL. I do not think there is a single chance that the Denver Broncos are the worst team in football. Like, to have us ranked right now as the worst team in football is laughable. And it truly just shows me that these guys aren't actually digging into it. They're letting ChatGPT do this based on what they saw last year. And so let's take a look here at why they're saying we're so bad. So they're saying our biggest strength last year was our offensive line. I think that continues to be our biggest strength moving forward. And it gets even stronger because now Sean Payton is going to be able to use that offensive line to truly run the system that he wants. If our offensive line was our biggest strength last year, and we know that Russell Wilson's strength was drop back, spin around, buy some time, and then throw a yeet ball for a Hail Mary, the offensive line doesn't even get a chance to shine. Now we are going to have a rhythm to this. We're going to they're not going to be able to load the box to stop our run. And when they do, Bo Nix is going to do audibles at the line and find the right guy, and he's going to move the ball where it needs to go. So if our biggest strength last year was offensive line, that's going to continue to be this year as well. And here's what it's saying. It's saying our biggest weakness last year was our defense. And I think what is really infuriating about all of this is that our defense last year, aside from those first few games and the 70 burger that we let the Miami Dolphins drop on us, our defense was good. But Pat Mahomes scored 1 touchdown on us the entire year, playing him in both of those games. That Thursday night we lost to them. They only scored 19 points. Then when we beat them in Denver, they scored 9. Look what we did to Josh Allen. Look what we did to all of these hot teams moving forward. And I think once we were able to move on from Randy Gregory, we were just a different defense. And I think the fact that Vance Joseph wasn't fired shows that Sean Payton believes in him. He easily could have been the scapegoat to throw under the bus in this offseason, but he believes in him. And so I think looking at this and saying that our over-under win total, again, is 5, there's a lot of national pundits who are saying we're a 4-win team, and I just don't see it, and that's why I'm excited, because it's going to feel so good at this time next year to look back at this and be like, oh, remember when you guys said we were only going to win 5 games and we won 10? And I think 10 is a very, very realistic thing. We've had a better offseason. They're talking, every Broncos player who was asked about the vibes at training camp, we're just saying it's electric here. We believe in this team, and so I think we're going to shock the world. I really do. Interesting thing, as they're looking at our starters, the PFF has Courtland Sutton coming back. And then Reynolds, Mims also being the starters. They have Adam Troutman as our starting tight end going into the year. It'll be interesting to see if that is actually Lucas Kroll or if Dulcich is back. That'll definitely be interesting to see how all that plays out. And then they have Luke Wattenberg slated to be our starting center, which I'm curious about that as well, because all signs are pointing to Alex Forsyth having that job, and we can go over that in videos to come. Looking over on the defensive side of the ball, the one that I think they might have wrong is how they look at our inside linebacker position. They have Cody Barton. We heard Sean Payton say yesterday he views Cody Barton basically as a special teams player, as a special teams player, and that actually being Jonas Griffith at linebacker. And then Levi Wallace they have as our cornerback. I think this is actually going to be Riley Moss if he gets back and healthy, which it sounds like he's even going to be back on Monday. So that maybe was a crisis averted. Curious to think, do you all think that this is absolute bogus here, that we are the worst team in the NFL? Because we're not. We're definitely not. Sean Payton is not going to regress. He took a 5-win team to an 8-win team with a quarterback that he didn't like, with a quarterback he didn't say a single good word about until like training camp. At least that was the first time he said anything nice about Russell Wilson. He didn't like Russell Wilson. He tried his best and was able to get him to 8 wins, and he's already gushing about our quarterback room. And I just think the sky is the limit for this Denver Broncos team. And here in Broncos country, we believe. Man, that was so lined up. I would have bet my house on that.